Hello, my name is Dr. Aidan Elliott, and this is the Complete Guide to Shakespeare.
Welcome to this visual summary of King Lear. I've created images for each scene to help you memorise and then easily recall the key events of the play. This will be helpful in exams when you're asked to make links between themes or to describe how the characters are presented. I've given each act a name, summarising the direction of each act, namely the road from Goneril, the road from Regan, the road to nakedness, the road to reconciliation, and finally the road to death. Scene 1 shows us where Lear makes his initial errors. He wants to divide up his kingdom and hand power to his 3 daughters, saying he'll give the biggest share to the daughter who says that she loves him the most. When Cordelia says she can say nothing to prove her love, he flies into a rage and disowns her. He ignores the loyal Earl of Kent and also banishes him. He then hands all authority over to his 2 remaining daughters, but note that he still wants to be called king and retain 100 soldiers to accompany him. Scene 2 introduces Edmund, the illegitimate son of the Earl of Gloucester. The laws of this society mean that his legitimate brother Edgar will inherit everything when their father dies, whereas Edmund won't inherit anything. This is why Edmund says that he intends to adopt the law of nature, where the strongest or most cunning take what they want. In scene 3, Goneril decides to exercise her newfound power. She tells her servant to ignore any requests her father makes, because he no longer has any power. In scene 4, the fool keeps reminding Lear of the mistakes he's made. He uses the metaphor of Lear carrying his own donkey rather than the donkey carrying him, to convey how stupid Lear has been. He tells him he's an O without a figure, meaning he's a 0 with no number in front. Lear is nothing and has lost power and his identity. In scene 5, the fool uses an image, a snail, that reflects Lear's new reality. Even a snail has a shell as a house. Lear has nothing. Act 2 is staged in or near to the Earl of Gloucester's castle. In scene 1, Edmund reappears. He develops his plot to disinherit his brother by telling Edgar he's likely to be apprehended by his father or by the Duke of Cornwall. Edgar leaves, and then Edmund cuts himself and pretends that Edgar has attacked him. Regan and her husband, the Duke of Cornwall, think Edmund is a loyal son. In scene 2, Lear's servant Caius, who's the Earl of Kent in disguise, attacks Goneril's servant, and the Duke of Cornwall then puts him in the stocks. This demonstrates how little respect they now have for Lear. In scene 3, we meet Edgar again, who has now disguised himself as poor Tom, a madman, to protect himself from the Earl of Gloucester, who sent people out to pursue him. In scene 4, Lear arrives and Regan now refuses to even speak with him. Eventually, she says Lear must return to Goneril and ask for forgiveness. Goneril then arrives, and the daughter suggests he needs no followers at all. He leaves Gloucester's castle with nothing but the clothes he stands up in and goes out into the storm. Now, at the beginning of Act 3, we discover that the forces of France have arrived in England with Cordelia. Is the hope. Scene 2 is the famous storm scene. The storm represents Lear's inner madness and turmoil. He rages against humanity for their ungratefulness. In scene 3, Gloucester tells Edmund that the French forces are in England, and Edmund will tell Cornwall that his father is a traitor. In scene 4, Lear focuses on 2 things: the ingratitude of his daughters and the poor that have to bear such terrible weather with no protection. He sees poor Tom, who's virtually naked, and says man is basically no more than this, a forked animal. He then takes off his own clothes to be the same as poor Tom. And in scene 5, Edmund tells Cornwall that Gloucester is a traitor, and Edmund is made Earl of Gloucester. He's now achieved his goal of inheriting his father's land. In scene 6, Lear is now completely mad. He thinks poor Tom is a judge and hallucinates the trials of his daughters. Scene 7 is where Cornwall blinds Gloucester for being a traitor. and in the process Cornwall is fatally stabbed. Now in Act 4, Scene 1, Edgar meets his now blinded father Gloucester and helps him in his persona as Poor Tom. Gloucester says the gods treat humans like young boys treat flies. They kill them for fun. In Scene 2, Albany now expresses his disgust at Goneril's behaviour and says she and Regan are like tigers, not daughters. He predicts that people like Goneril and Regan will ultimately prey on each other. In Scene 3, Kent discovers that the French king has had to return to France. Now this is a signal to us that Cordelia's forces are weakened. In Scene 4, Cordelia appears for the first time since Act 1, Scene 1. She hears that Lear is crowned with the type of weeds that grow in corn or wheat. This indicates that the goodness of his mind, represented by the wheat, is being polluted by the weeds, which is the madness. In Scene 5, Regan, who's now a widow, reveals that she wants to marry Edmund. Scene 6, the blind Gloucester wants to kill himself. So Edgar, still with a disguised voice, pretends to lead him to a cliff top. In reality, there is no cliff, so Gloucester just thinks he's fallen and been spared from death. Lear arrives. He berates humans for adultery and for hypocrisy, hence the "get thee glass eyes" quote. They take Lear off to meet Cordelia, and Edgar kills Goneril's messenger and discovers a plan to kill Albany. And in Scene 7, Lear is reunited with Cordelia. He says that he's bound on a wheel of fire, meaning he's suffering with guilt for rejecting Cordelia, but he and Cordelia are reconciled when she forgives him. Act 5 sees the final descent to tragedy. Regan and Goneril plan to fight Cordelia's forces. Edmund reveals he plans to kill Lear and Cordelia. In Scene 2, the forces of Cordelia and Lear are defeated and they're taken prisoner. And in Scene 3, Cordelia and Lear are sent to jail. Lear says they will sing like birds in the cage. They're caged but like-minded free spirits who can't any longer be deceived by flatterers. Albany reveals that he knows about Goneril's plot to kill him. Regan now feels ill because Goneril has poisoned her. Goneril kills herself and Edmund is defeated by Edgar. Lear then arrives carrying the dead Cordelia. She has been murdered off stage. Lear's folly in giving up power and believing what he wanted to hear has resulted in the deaths of all his daughters, and now he himself dies. Lastly, I would recommend that you go back over this video again at least once before you sit your exam, because the more that you see the map, the better you will be at recalling and visualising these events during your examinations. So, I hope this brief video has given you a way of memorising the main moments in King Lear, and it will be useful to you when revising for exams or when reading or watching the play.
Give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and subscribe now so that you never miss any of my future posts.